Welcome back to episode 15 of the Bullpen podcast. We had a busy weekend this past weekend with the McHenry preseason ID and the Lockport preseason ID. A lot of players that we saw. So, honestly, a lot of good players too. So, we'll get into that here in this episode. But kind of looking at, I think, our company news, baseball news. Drew, I'm going to kind of give this to you, just looking at some information that you have here on the sheet with a couple coaches from Illinois that maybe you want to touch on.
Well, yeah, I know it was making its waves last week, and I don't know if we touched on it during our podcast, if it came through after our podcast, exactly what the timing was, but just terrible news hearing about Illinois and Mark Allen, their pitching coach. He had been there a couple years and had been battling some stuff for a while, and he passed last week. So just thinking of Illinois and the community and everybody that he impacted, I know there were a lot of thoughts and prayers getting shared across social media, and I just think it's important to reflect on him and bring him up with what we do with our podcast. And I definitely deserve to mention and just letting Illinois know that we're thinking about them, and I'm sure this is a really tough time, especially just right as you're entering the season as well. So, not that there's ever a good time, but no, that was one thing. And then I got a text from my dad last night, and I saw some stuff go across social about Itchy Jones, Richard Itch Jones, for any old school Illinois baseball fans out there. This one hit home for me because my dad, he played for Southern Illinois, played for Itch back in the 70s. And Itch was a legend and is a legend, and like what he did in Illinois for baseball. I was just looking at kind of the years and stuff before we jumped on the podcast, and started at McMurray College as a head coach, and then got the Southern Illinois coaching job back in 1970, and coached there for 20 years until 1990. Before he took the job at Illinois and coached there from 1991 until 2005. But just what he did, while he was at Southern Illinois, like he turned them, a lot of people don't realize it, but the Salukis used to be a powerhouse. In those 20 years, he took them to multiple College World Series. I'm looking right now, like in 1971, his second year at SIU, it led the Salukis to within one game of the national championship, and they finished second. And then in 1974 and 77, they made it to the College World Series once again and placed third both times. And my dad was fortunate enough to play on that 74 team, played third base, but this isn't about my dad. This is about Itch, and I know he impacted a ton of people's lives. And my dad always told me that he viewed Itch as like his second father, especially when he went down to school, and just how much he meant to him. And I know they stayed in touch. He would see him every year, come back, and recently Itch was around the Champaign area, so whether it was playing golf or just grabbing a bite to eat. And I had the fortune of playing some golf with him as well and getting to know him, and just an unbelievable human being for anybody that did get to know him. And he could talk, and he knew the game, and I just think back to my childhood. I grew up watching Itchy Jones instructional VHS tapes. You guys probably don't even know what VHS is. But when I was growing up, we were rocking the old VHSs, and he had some instructional videos. I'm going to have to see if I still have those somewhere, but he was a huge, huge figure in the Illinois baseball community, and thoughts and prayers to anybody that he impacted, and his family and everything like that. So hate to start the show off on a somber note, but these man, he deserves a lot of just love from the Illinois baseball family. So with that, Gavin, feel free, and you can kind of move forward here with next thing you want to talk about.
Yeah, appreciate that, Drew, for bringing that up. But so before we get into some college baseball stuff, I sent over you guys a video this morning of Paul Skeens pitching at spring training at like a live bullpen basically, and it was just one pitch. It was a fastball, like a two-seam fastball or sinker or something, and it just looked it was behind home. That looked like impossible to hit. If I was a hitter, I would be so scared if I was up there, and I just can't imagine trying to face that. Like, that was just a ridiculous pitch. I don't know if you guys saw it come through or not, but he's nasty.
I think I did see that, and it even looked more ridiculous because, like in the video, I think the ball's hidden for a while, and then all of a sudden you see the jump and the ride and the arm side action he gets,
Yeah,
and it just looked like the most electric fastball I've ever seen. I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, but like he's developing a couple more offerings, like he's enhancing his repertoire. I don't know if that was taken out of context, but I think he was talking about it or something. So you guys may have seen that or know more than I do. But geez, and what more can he do?
no, I didn't see that, but that's ridiculous. So yeah, college baseball started this past weekend. We've got like a whole list of wins from teams from Illinois this past weekend. I'm not going to go down the entire list, but if there are like any performances you guys see or any names that you want to bring up that you saw, kind of have a good weekend or kind of a standout performance in a game, feel free. But for me, the first one I just wanted to bring up was Julius Sanchez originally from LaSalle, Peru. He was pitching for Illinois this weekend in their 6-2 win. Threw 7 innings, struck out 10, walked 1, allowed 1 run and 3 hits. So a really good performance for Sanchez there, and a Central Illinois native too. So gotta give shout outs for that.
I love to see that. I know Hammett was a guy that got a couple looks at Julius Sanchez kind of early on when Hammett was starting here, and I know he liked him and saw him throw the ball well. And then along the same lines, like Drake Westcott, it seemed like getting off to a hot start. 2 long balls, if I saw that correct, and I know we've kind of talked about him being one of the more feared hitters to come through Illinois in a while. So yeah, it looked like what Illinois started off 2-1, Gavin.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep, 2-1. And actually, I didn't know this name, Tyler Capron. He's a pitcher for Eastern Illinois. He's from Richwoods High School in Peoria. He got the win this weekend in a 6-2 win for EIU. He threw 5 innings, struck out 3, walked 3. So that was cool. I didn't know much about Capron, but Richwoods kid. So that's it's awesome to see.
I didn't know a ton about him either, and it looked like because I saw you threw his name in there, so I was researching him, and it looked like he must have gone to Western Illinois, and then transferred over to EIU. But
Yeah,
that's good to see. A Peoria native there, Gavin, for you, just doing his thing.
and I mean David Cox too. Like, he pitched for UIC this past week or yesterday, I guess it would have been on Monday. Threw 5 innings, struck out 2, allowed 1 run and 3 hits, and then I saw he had a pretty good game against Charleston Southern on Sunday. Went 2 for 5 at the plate with an RBI, 2 runs, and a stolen base. So freshmen are already impacting the lineup for UIC. That's pretty awesome to see. And I know a guy that we are all pretty familiar with, and Def. I mean, you guys probably all 3 of you probably went and saw Naz quite a bit when he was in high school. So good for David Cox there. That's cool.
He was a guy. He was a guy that I remember coming to a Rising Stars game as an 8th grader. Going into his freshman year, we had it at Lee Fun Field, and I remember him slinging it across the infield. And then he was obviously a future gamer, and most notably, recently he was selected the IHS BCA 4A State Player of the Year. So I got to listen to him give a speech in front of a lot of people, and then, like you said, like to see a freshman impacting college baseball right now is more rare than it's ever been. And awesome to see that out of David. Not only just impacting it, but then impacting it as a position guy and as a pitcher, which is even more rare. So that's a special talent right there, and great to see.
Yeah, I mean, well, if there's anything else, any other performances you guys want to bring up, feel free. Def, get in there.
He might have the same
whoever.
one. I'll
Sorry, go ahead.
let Hammett go.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's one of the more interesting stories on here. Jack Lausch making his college baseball debut finally. I mean, was one of the top players in Illinois coming out of high school. Probably could have gotten drafted if you gave him the right number, but wanted to go play football for my Wildcats. And this past year, he was the starter, I believe, for most of the year, if not the entire year, and then decided to pick up the bat. And I could not imagine how difficult it must be to not have touched a baseball bat, most likely since high school, and now you're just facing like top of the line Division I arms. So I know he did have some success. It looks like he went 2 for 4 with a run scored in one of these games. I was watching as well a few of the games, and I mean, there was definitely some. It looked like he, had not seen that level of pitching in a while, and that's just gonna, there'll be some adjustment and some learning curve with that. But I mean, I would not put it past him to figure it out really soon. And just the physicality for me, like, really stood out with him. I mean, I remember seeing him in high school, really athletic kid, and then now he's like super jacked because he's just been lifting with the football team for a few years now. But no, that's one of the more cool stories on here. And then one other guy that I want to mention that I vividly remember seeing. Oh man, I think it was at Lockport. No, maybe it was O'Hare. But I remember Anthony Solis, this kid from Waukegan. We had nothing on him. He came up and was just bumping 90 with a banger slider. Now he's at EIU, and it looked like he had a good little outing this past weekend. 1.2 innings pitched with 2 Ks. So I mean, and he earned the win. So good for that kid. That was a little throwback. It was cool to see that name in there.
And I was just gonna say, credit to Northwestern taking 2 of 3 from Long Beach State. It's got to be difficult going out to California and playing any of those teams because they've all probably been playing or been able to get outside for a while. Think about Northwestern, man. It's -10, I think, outside here.
That was their first
area.
ever series, Def. Also, that was the first time they ever played each other.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, I know the Friday night game got away from Northwestern. We saw our guy, Charles Frady, Saturday at the McHenry preseason ID, who's, I might get this title wrong, but I believe he's a manager with the Northwestern baseball team and does a lot of work for them. So, big kudos to the Wildcats. That's big time.
Yeah, all right. Well, and then one last thing I just wanted to mention. I saw this come through this morning. Justin Turner signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Cubs. Got playoff experience, World Series. So hopefully that works out. Hopefully it's good for the team. Bring some experience and a veteran to the locker room. Like, we'll see. But no Bregman, but it's all right.
Yeah, that news was broken to me when I looked at this podcast sheet. I don't know why I did not see it on Twitter anywhere. Maybe that's not a good thing, but I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, it's not getting blasted on the media outlets. So, hey, and the Bregman thing, from what I was seeing this morning, is maybe the Cubs should be trying to get Rafael Devers because apparently he's saying third base is his, and this is after they just brought in Bregman. So there's something going on over there with the Red Sox to keep an eye on. You heard it here first, here, Def, Gav, Amit.
I mean, I think Bregman is a little bit more open to just playing second base from what I've seen. I'm sure that was probably discussed when they went to sign him. Like, hey, are you like cool with playing second base? I mean, it's crazy because Bregman's a much better defender than Rafael Devers is, but I don't know. They just paid Devers a boatload of money to be the future of their franchise. So there's certainly dynamics there.
All right, well let's kind of look over it. We had 2 big events this past weekend on Saturday and Monday with the day off because of President's Day. So, kind of let's get into McHenry first. I know you guys were up at that one. I was not. So, let's get into McHenry first. I know you guys were up at that one. I was not. So, any takeaways from that? Any players you want to talk through? Like, feel free just to hop in and.
Yeah, I'm going to pass it off to you guys here for the most part, but just talking about that McHenry event, like we ran the Rising Stars in the morning, and then we ran a high school event in the afternoon, and throughout the day we're seeing 200 players. So there's a lot of meat on that bone, and that just event in general, I feel like continues to get deeper and deeper with the talent. The arms that come out of that thing every year is impressive. Like last year, I was mentioning to the guys in the pre-showcase speech, just like Brandon Shannon, and what like that was kind of his coming out party last year, and then to see what he did throughout the entire year, like he went and earned it on the field, was an all-state selection for us, and then everything he did in the fall, and then got the Super 60 nod, and he's up to 95, and just continuing to boost his stock. But it's a great event up there. Those guys treat us great, and like I said, like over 200 guys on that day. And plenty to talk about. And then we back that up running our Lockport event on Monday. So I think we're all kind of in the same boat here. Like we're still ciphering through all these events. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but we're digging through all the numbers. We're digging through all of our notes and uploading videos still and looking back at videos we had and making sure we're getting good grasps on guys. So like today when we talk about McHenry, when we talk about Lockport, like these are just some main standouts that, you know, we were locked in on, we saw, and I am sure there's plenty of other guys that are going to kind of come out of the woodworks here as we continue to dig through these events. But yeah, starting with McHenry, I mean, I know we've got some names listed here, guys, but just one really cool thing is it's at the GRB Illinois facility, and Caden Wisniewski came as a position player. He's our number 2 ranked 2027 right now. Most likely he's in line to bump up to number 1. I don't want to kind of put the cart before the horse there, but with Sushi Wilson now going to IMG in Florida, like Caden Wisniewski just continues to put on a show every time we see him. And it doesn't matter if it's with the bat or with the arm. Like what he did at McHenry was kind of ridiculous. Like he comes out there, he ties for the top 30-yard dash of the day. Then he goes and takes a really loud round of BP. Then he goes on the infield, which he's athletic enough to play center, play short, play third. Like you could play anywhere with that guy. And he's 95 across the infield. It's just, it continues to tick up. And there's all kinds of polish to his game too. So, I mean, that was just a huge takeaway that I had. And I know he'll be coming to the All-State in a few weeks and he'll pitch there. So we'll get to see that. And then Carver Cone, like they also have the number 1 2028 in our rankings. And gosh, there's so much, you know, time left in that class. Like there's bound to be a ton of movement and all that, but Carver Cone's really, really talented. You know, sometimes it even makes us like a little squeamish ranking a freshman a 2028, but like he is a guy that I think we all feel really good about continuing to just stay atop the, you know, class as he moves forward. So switch hitter showed really well with the bat. I know the exit velocities were really impressive for a 2028, but also just the polish and how evenly matched he is from both sides of the plate. Like they're both very, very good swings. The left-handed swing, the right-handed swing, they both have kind of the same sort of juice in each side of the bat. And then he goes out there and he looks like a natural center fielder. So those were 2 takeaways I had. I will, you know, leave it to you guys on anything else you may have had on those 2 guys or anybody else from the day.
No, I think just with like Carver Cone, right? Obviously, we don't love ranking kids that young, but that's what it looks like at that age, right? Those are the guys that you expect to get better and better and better. Like, I'm not going to comp him to anybody in particular, but like looking at someone like Dylan Head, that was like the athlete, the lean, wiry twitch, like those are the guys you bet on. And I was actually asking him like what his natural side was. He said he didn't know, which like that's a crazy response to me. Like you're that good from both sides that you just both are like your natural side. That was pretty unreal to me. But yeah, I mean, I think we could start moving into some of these other guys here, unless you guys wanted to add anything really quick, Gavin or Tyler.
I was just going to say one of my notes I had, touching on the 2 McHenry guys, but another McHenry guy that popped for me, you know, just evaluating the defensive guys was Landon Clements, 2027 out of McHenry. But overall, I just thought all 3 guys really looked the part defensively. All 3 had some natural actions about them and looked like guys on the infield. So, or in Carver's case, the outfield, but Wisniewski and Clements infield-wise. But that's all I had.
I mean, McHenry High School, like, we've been talking a little bit here as we're getting closer to the high school season about some of these top teams to watch out for. And I think Pravi, you know, deservedly so. They won state last year. They're bringing back a ton of people. Edwardsville, like the amount of talent that's rolling through there right now and what they bring back. But, man, right with them, I think has to be McHenry. You have 2 aces, flat-out aces in Wisniewski and Shannon, and now you're talking about some of these other guys. Carver Cone potentially making an impact as a freshman. I saw Scotty Cole. I'm gonna, shout him out right now. Like I know he's on our list to talk about, but I had him on my mound. It was like if this guy is like he could be a top 3 arm for any other high school, and he's probably McHenry's 5, 6. I don't even know, but like just the amount of depth they have on the mound. And I know Scotty showed well as a position guy too, but now Landon Clements you bring up and. The Fox Valley in general is loaded, but man, McHenry is they're making a push right now, so that's really good to see.
Yeah, I mean that whole area, right? I mean the Fox Valley is always loaded. I mean that event, like, it's always an absolute grind. Like, it's far for all of us to get there. It's like over an hour. It's an all day thing, but it's worth it every single time just because we get to see all these players from that area. So I love it. But kind of getting into this, I think we kind of do it the same way we did last week, maybe just going down here by class, just kind of rapid fire. The first guy I have up here that I really liked with the bat was Brady Klepfer, and he's a guy that we've seen year after year at this event. Two-way guy, we like him on both sides. It looked like he was up to 88 on the mound, and we really like how it works there. But I remember he was on Drew's mound catching. I forget who was pitching, but I was like, Drew, who is that? Like, and it was Klepfer behind the plate receiving. The receiving looked really, really good. So that's a good shout there for him. It looked like he was up to 95 at the plate, 79 miles an hour from the chute, and sub 1.9 pop. So pretty legit there. Moving down, Colin Dreckman from Warren, a 2026. So I was sitting on the hitters all day, so saw a ton of bats. He was one of my favorites just with how loose and handsy it was. I really liked that. There's a ton of upside there. The numbers weren't like crazy loud, 91 mile an hour exit velo, but he's 5'10", 160. So I really think the operation, there's a lot more to come there, and the frame itself too. There's some hand speed as well. He's up to kind of in the 23 mile an hour range. He's also a fluid defender on the infield, it looked like, for Tyler. And then moving down, Diego Herrera from Huntley, 2026. He had one of the louder rounds of the day. Drew, I know you were behind home at the time, and you kind of shouted over to me like, yo, this is loud, like, because you had the track man. He was up to 101 miles an hour, average 93, 338 max distance, and I was watching it from the side. I was really in on it. Ton of controlled intent. Was working, middle pull side with some lift. I think that kid's got a chance to, find a home right in the middle of Huntley's lineup.
Yeah, I was able to watch his round at that point, and when he was on the barrel, it was super loud. And you're right, like really loose with some controlled intent. I would like to see just on top, excuse me, getting on top of the baseball just a little bit more, because I felt like he did. I would say all his contact is in the air. So he was actually, getting underneath some, fouling some kind of like straight back, but it's a power profile. And yeah, if you miss and if he's on the barrel, it's going to be loud and with some authority.
For sure, for sure. Moving down our last 2026, at least in this position profile, position player profile part, we got Scott Cole from McHenry. Another McHenry guy. Two-way guy, though. Looks like he was 97 miles an hour with the bat. Super strong hands with some bat speed, and then up to 85 from the outfield. So the arm really works, and it looks like that transferred over to the mound as well. He's up to 86 with a 4-pitch mix. He's got a curveball, slider, and a changeup. So
yeah, it's a little deceptive too. Like he's got some stuff going on, but the spin was real. Like the spin is going to give guys some trouble in high school. And then I was able to look at those hit notes too, and he certainly came away as an interesting prospect that we did not have much on kind of going into this event. And that's to me the beauty of these winter events are who are these guys that we don't have a ton on. A lot of these guys, a Carver Cone, some of these Wisniewski, it's like you're kind of just getting updates and you're checking in on them. But man, like a Landon Clements, who we did know a little bit on last year, and Jace Koth was another guy. We'll get to him, but like, I saw him briefly this fall in like a couple at bats. But to me, it's all about these pop-up guys, especially at the preseason IDs. Like who is a guy that's going to emerge and make us follow you kind of moving forward? And I thought there were a bunch of those guys at this thing.
Yeah, and that actually kind of reminds me, like, I've had multiple people ask me, like, hey, when's the Power 25 coming out? And I was like, dude, we have so much time until then with, like, our winner's circuit. Like, we're going to find a ton more guys. We're going to get updates on a ton more guys. Like, not only that, but, like, obviously coaches need to continue to fill that out for us and get more and more of those. But, like, the circuit, the winner's circuit helps us kind of fill out the blanks with a lot of that as well, with, like, seeing all these players and finding new ones.
Yeah.
But no, I think we can get into, like you just mentioned, Jace Koth. I don't want to become a comp guy because I think I'd be really bad at it, but Alec Thomas was getting thrown around a little bit with him. Just the look and the left-handed swing. Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. I no, and I that came to my mind too. Just kind of the look for sure. Um, but kind of the athletic actions, like just the mannerisms he had in the box, were definitely giving me those vibes. Now, there's not many that are like Alec Thomas, and we're gonna have to go see Jace. But just the raw athlete, like
No.
he's a left prospect. He ran the with Wozniewski. They both tied for the top 30 time of the event. Like he just kind of oozed like, okay, you have to follow this guy because if it really like if he can really hit or if it ever like really comes, man, with the way he moves, I'm guessing center field profile, like there's a lot to like there. He was on my mound pitching. Sorry to cut you off. And had a lot of feel on the mound. Like he's probably gonna throw in high school, I would
No, go ahead.
imagine, and made me like him even more. Just the overall feel to his game. Like he was spinning a slurvy, sweeping breaking ball for a strike pretty much any time he wanted to, landing it where he wanted to. So, just overall impressive day for me. Getting our eyes on Koth.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was all in on the swing, like super athletic, left-handed swing. I think there's a ton more to come there. Moving on here, we got Liam Schultz, a Burlington Central kid. I was in on the swing there as well. Simple and strong. Was pretty direct to the baseball. Worked a ton on the barrel up the middle of the field. So you love that in BP. It shows at least some polish where he's just not trying to turn and burn. He's trying to stay work the middle. And he was able to hit off the hack attack as well. That says a lot too. But he was up to 95 miles an hour for the EV. And we got moving down Jackson McDonald here from Sycamore. It looks like a two-way left-handed hitter, 6'1", 182, 92 miles an hour for the EV with a clean operation. But he was also up to 86 miles an hour on the mound with a curveball and changeup combination. Sorry. So I did not have him on my mound. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, no, he was on Defaballs, I'm pretty sure. I know Def's probably chomping at the bit to get in here. But no, McDonald to me is like that exact guy we're talking about. Like these breakout candidates, I don't think he could fit the mold any better. Tyler, go ahead. I did see him swing the bat. I don't know if you saw him swing the bat, but it was a left-handed bat with all kinds of athleticism, all kinds of just like there's something in the hands with the whip, with the way he can turn the barrel and move the barrel through the zone where I'm just like, all right, like he's a two-way guy. We really liked it on the mound, but he's also a QB1 in football. Like that is a really, really good foundation, and I want you to get into whatever you had here on him.
Yeah, I mean, it's again a perfect example of what Pete was just talking about with, you know, ranking the Power 25 teams. Like Sycamore perennially like is a good squad. We obviously like them a lot more knowing that they've got this guy on their team. They've already got a Tyler Townsend who is a future gamer for us. They've got Davis Colley who is, a pro case guy for us. Like, so it just goes back to, we've got time for the Power 25 and stuff and why these preseason events are so important. But yeah, McDonald, I mean, it was a lively arm. Obviously, I don't know who the guy is. He comes up first pitch, and I'm like, whoa, that looks different. I better get my phone out. Drew comes over there, and we're both watching. And Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like one of our bigger takeaways was just how legit it seemed his breaking ball was. The curveball really has a chance to be a very quality pitch moving forward in his high school career. But it was 85 to 86. It's a really quick and clean arm. Had some spin field to him as well, but yeah, I mean, it was a really, really athletic operation and makes a ton of sense that he's QB1 for Sycamore.
And I'm seeing him up to 87 on our website, so I'm going to give him that tick up. I really like the fastball too. Like I thought it had a ton of
Okay.
carry to it.
Yeah.
Like played with ride through the zone. He had some extension going down the mound. Just watching him from the side
Mm-hmm.
and spun the fastball pretty well, 22-19, and had some horizontal to it, just looking at it, and kind of seemed to be around the zone with all of his stuff too, Defball. Like there was overall feel, at least control. It wasn't a thrower for being an athlete. Like had some feel and moxie to
Yeah.
his entire game, and really looked like the part. Like filled out the uniform. Did not shock me one bit when they said that he was a QB1. Like I could see it easily. And then when I saw him hitting in the cage, I didn't realize he was a left-handed hitter until I saw him swinging. And I was like, all right, like we got ourselves a follow here for sure. Definitely one of the biggest winners, I would say, coming out of that event.
Yeah, we can round this out with two 2027s, it looks like. Ryan Tucker from Jacobs and then Landon Clements from McHenry. Surprise, surprise. But Ryan Tucker, we have him ranked 37th in the state. So another good look at him. We've seen him in the past. Up to 94 miles an hour with EV. Typical strong hands with some power. Controls his lever as well. He's just a guy that I think will continue to hit and just, throughout the ranks, he'll just be a nice bat that'll just, in game perform and show well and showcase as well.
I know another guy that showed well for all of us, I feel like, was Landon Clements, left-handed hitting infielder. His name got thrown out earlier. What did you guys see on him?
Just, the frame stood out to me a little bit, 5'11", 155, so plenty more strength and maturing to do there, but really loose and whippy. I thought he controlled his lever as well, at the plate as well. 90 mile an hour exit velo, so, not too shabby, but pretty good bat speed in the low 70s, and I mean you could tell visually that it was pretty good, but then you go and cross check with blast, and that's when you get the real number. And it's good to see those correlate. But no, I liked it. I liked it at the plate.
Yeah, he struck me just like the high waist, the young look. Definitely looks like he's gonna put on quality strength, and like they've had some really good left-handed hitting middle infielders coming through there with TJ Jakubowski, and then you've got Andrew Deegan, who we were able to see, and I'm just talking up at that academy. Andrew Deegan committed to Belmont, and when you find a left-handed hitting middle infielder, I just feel like the profile and the prospect status just elevates. A lot of people are looking for those, and I'd say a lot of college coaches are looking for that profile. So Landon Clements, super, super interesting. I mean, he's in that 27 class. He'll be a guy we'll have to make sure we get quality looks at just for future game follows and stuff like that. But then another young left-handed bat that I think was probably one of the more impressive guys on the day, especially when you start talking about 2028s. You guys had good notes. Tommy Gassner, Huntley. Got to see him this fall, has some presence and some physicality in the box for being a 2028. So, Pete, I don't know if you had anything more on him.
Yeah, I had him in my mount as well, and I liked it. He's up to 78 with some feel for multiple pitches, and then they were kind of tipping me off. They were like, hey, he's probably more of a bat, but it's pretty good on the mound too. But no, you're totally right. Ton of physicality in the box. I thought he controlled the barrel well for the intent that he was trying to use. Pretty balanced, and he was another guy trying to stay up the middle. But he was up to 95 for the EV. And I liked it both. I liked it both ways. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably say I liked the bat a little more, just in this look. But
no, I was gonna throw one last thing on Gassner there. I mean, I remember last year him coming to this event for the Rising Stars, and Pete, I believe you and me were on hitting that day, and we were both like, wow, like that's really good for a middle schooler. But I also really liked it defensively. Like for a first baseman, it seemed like a kid who like actually had natural feel for playing first base. He was comfortable around the bag, whether it was, holding the runner on and then turning to, which is something we do in our defensive portion of the workout, but also could really pick it too. So that's always a nice feather in the cap to have as a first baseman. So no, big fan of Tommy Gassner for sure.
Somehow I messed up here. It looks like I forgot to pull Andrew Deegan up. He's a Jacobs 2026 Belmont commit. But I liked his round. Compact left-handed swing with some strength. He looked to elevate up the middle and pull side as well. Another balanced operation. He was up to 96 for the EV and 91 miles an hour across the infield.
Well, and two other 28s to just kind of highlight here. Joey Frano, Johnsburg, and then Anthony Nuccio, Rolling Meadows. Just any kind of quick nugget you had on them, Pete, or just two bats to watch kind of down the road?
No, I mean, yeah, two guys that I like the way it works. The numbers maybe weren't crazy, but I thought they were loose. Just guys to watch as we go forward. Just like the way it worked.
And that's, I mean, like we kind of touched on at the beginning of this, there's probably so many other, prospects we could mention, especially when it comes to position players. I know now there's some arms that we haven't touched on yet, and there's always a lot of arms coming out of this event. I was fortunate enough to get a couple on my mound come through that I really, really liked, but I see a few names before that. One of them that's like really piquing my interest is Drew Borkowski at Huntley. Um, because of like not only what he did on the mound, I know Defaball, you were a fan, but then you look at the just going through the stat sheet after the event, and he was like top of the charts and everything. 102 EV, like 95 from the outfield, just kind of putting on a show all over the place. But what did you have on him on the mound, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, Drew was my prospect of the week either last week or 2 weeks ago on this show, and I really, I just think he keeps getting better, which is something I'm pretty sure I said in that segment about him a couple weeks ago. Like, continues to get better. My biggest takeaway is I thought his breaking balls, both his curveball and slider, had really started to firm up, which is something I'd even talked about. Again, touching on that segment a couple weeks ago. But it's still a really loose and athletic arm that, to me, I think there's still more velo to come in the coming years as he continues to develop physically. So, no, I think he keeps getting better, and I think there's actually some polish there too on the mound, which it's come quite a bit from this time last year when he was at this event. It was maybe a little bit more thrower-ish. I feel like now he's starting to develop that feel for actually pitching. So.
Well, and we are talking about high schools here and how, the winter plays a big role. Like, talking about Huntley, Drew Borkowski, who knows what he'll do as a position player for them? Like, they're always loaded. I don't know how much he played last year, but hey, another arm that they're going to have at their disposal, Josh Rudnick. I had him come through my mound. We've long liked him. He's always had a lot of feel, can pitch. It looked like he added 50 pounds to his frame. He had like some thickness to him, and just continued to show really well on the mound. He was 86, 87 with a 4-pitch mix. It's a short, compact arm action. It plays clean, and like that guy's definitely going to impact their varsity, I would imagine, this year, and just give them another quality arm to choose from. So he deserved a mention for me. And then I don't know who had Johnny Geyser on their mound, Crystal Lake Central 2026.
That was me. I really liked him. So uncommitted 26. Definitely need to throw that out there. But he was up to 88 for me with some life. I thought the fastball had some life through the zone that I really liked. 3 pitches for strikes. 3 pitches for strikes. Slider had some good spin over 2,400 RPM. 74, 76 miles an hour, and the changeup was around the 80 mile an hour mark with some feel and running action. But just a 3-pitch guy with some velo, could spin, and the changeup too. You never. It's not that you never see it, but to have like actual feel for both a break ball and a changeup in high school is a pretty legit thing to have. I think he's gonna have a pretty big spring here.
Well, and looking at him from last year, he was a guy that came to our event last year. So up to 83.3 and averaged 82.4. Fast forward a year later, he's topping now at 87.5. He averaged 86.5. So just he's on that solid trajectory that we're always looking for. Like, how are you developing? What's going on with your stuff? What's going on with your velo? What's going on with your frame? What's going on with your secondaries? There's so much that we're looking at, but we're always looking at the trends. Are there any other 2026 arms? I'm pulling up my sheet here just to make sure before I move on to one of the best arms of the day. I was lucky enough to have him on my mound. Liam Nash. He's ranked in our 2027 class. He goes to Westminster Christian. Last year, it just kind of seemed like he continued to get better throughout the year. Threw really, really well at our Illinois State games, and then came back, and just seeing him on Saturday, like, continues to elevate. 6'2", 201 pounds. There's some thickness in the lower half. There's some durability look to him. Starter profile. He had 4 pitches with 2 different breaking balls, a fastball, and then he was mixing in this sinker. And that was probably my biggest takeaway on him was The fastball profile, like he can throw a four-seam fastball with life and carry at the top of the zone that plays true. And then he was throwing a true sinker that if I'm looking at the velos here, goodness gracious, I got to pull this up because I'm not going to do it justice, but it didn't look like he was getting anything off the velo, and it had a completely different profile to it. It was down in the zone, it was arm side with all kinds of heaviness, all kinds of sink, all kinds of run. And I'm just pulling up the TrackMan here. So he was throwing that at like 83.5, and he was throwing his fastball, the four seamer, at like 88. So he does take something off of it. He almost treats it as as a changeup. But man, that thing it had some darting action to it. Like I was a really, really big fan of the sinker to go along with the fastball. And then he was mixing two different breaking balls in that he has feel for. They kind of blended together for me at times, the slider and the curveball. But man, he's going to be a 2027 to watch. And once again, you start talking about the future games. We're trying to collect names that we need to go track down and see in the spring and in the summer, and he's going to be on that list, like a number of other guys. But he definitely was a highlight for me. And I'll keep going here, looking down this list. I had another good one on my mound, Burlington Central, Nicholas Sherry. We talk about these high schools. Burlington Central, they had, I don't want to mess it up, but Liam Schultz, the left-handed hitting catcher, or third baseman that showed well with the bat. Well, guess what? Another guy from Burlington Central, 2027, same class as Schultz, Nicholas Sherry. 85, 87, topping at 88. It's got like developing strength in his 5'11", 181-pound frame. And similar to Rudnick, like it's a shorter, clean arm action, plays pretty compact, but it's all around the zone. I was a big fan of Nicholas Sherry. So Burlington Central's got some guys coming through like they always do, and that was just another 2027 winner for me.
Yeah, and then rounding out things for me arm-wise, for Crystal Lake Central defending 3A state champs, Michael Bud Shanahan is a 2027, 5'10", 162, just really looked like an athlete on the mound. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays another sport. I don't know if he does, but loved how he moved. Like I said, it was just really athletic. Arm works, it was low 80s, but like, I don't care. Like it's gonna probably be really good in a year or two. Slider was his best pitch. He threw all of his off speed with intent, which for a younger guy I really like to see. He's not babying his slider to make it look like a curveball. It was short lateral action on the slider and could be a real out pitch this spring. So big fan of Shanahan, and hopefully we can get out and see him this spring.
I don't know if you guys have anybody else to mention from the high school
You're
realm.
muted.
But there were also some standouts at the McHenry Rising Stars, and I get a little. Is it too early to start talking about some 29s and some 2030s that showed really well? Probably, but just to know that there's some high quality talent still coming. Planning on rolling through in the next couple of years up there in the Fox Valley, and I thought Henry Shower. Heading to Jacobs, a 2029, just had like a very, very well-rounded, advanced skill set. Like really swung it. The frame is a little more mature than a lot of other players you'll see at that age, and then really, really defended. And two other names that I thought showed well: Braden Murray, the son of Coach Murray there at Jacobs. I guess I got thrown off. I saw he's going to Cary Grove. But Jamie Murray, his dad, is the head coach at Jacobs. He's a 2030, and I just remember looking over into the cage at one point and seeing this loose, athletic left-handed hitter with a little bat tip, like looked like a guy, and then to find out he was a 2030. That one, to me, was a guy that's, he's got a bright future. You always love coaches' sons as well. And then Matthew Lawful here is listed, Cary Grove as well, a 2029. Just another name going to Cary Grove that we really like to swing in the glove in the outfield. So I don't know if you guys had anything else to kind of go off of the Rising Stars, but that was just a couple standouts that I feel like we could give some love to.
No, just three guys that we liked the way it worked again. Like I'm not even looking at the numbers. Like I don't care. I just like the frames. I liked how it worked, and those are just three names to follow.
Well, kind of turning the page then. Am I good to do that? Yeah, all right. Turning the page to Lockport, which was yesterday's event on Monday. I guess we can just get into some of the arms that I saw first. And the first guy here, Def, I know you saw also at the plate, so I'll let you get in on him. But right-handed pitcher Lincoln Boersma, I think is how to say the last name. Is how you say that. Correct me if I'm wrong if you guys think it's otherwise. Boersma. All right. Providence Catholic, 2027. Really liked the frame. 6'1", 180-pound kid, and still looks like there's room for more to add in terms of strength. But the way that he moved was very, very athletic, and I actually screenshotted a video I got, and I'm gonna put this in the podcast, but I'm just gonna show you guys because not a lot of kids I feel like can get in this position. I hope it looks like a right-hander because on my screen it looks like he's left-handed, but not a lot of kids can get in that position, and I thought that was super impressive to see him be that loose and athletic on the mound. And with that, he was up to 86 or 86.7, so rounds up to 87 with his fastball. Comes out of the hand really clean. It's really easy. And then I thought his slider was probably his best off speed. It was like low 70s, but he was able to land it, both his curveball and slider. He was able to throw for strikes, but I just thought his slider was better. Had kind of better shape. And then he also threw a changeup too. But I just really like the way he moves. I mean, I think personally he's going to be one that we need to get out and see in game this spring or in the summer, and potentially a future game watch list kind of guy in my eyes. And so we'll see. We'll see how he does in game. But Def, I know you had some stuff on him at the plate as well.
Yeah, I mean, a common theme that you're probably going to hear from me from this Lockport event is just these guys that had easy operations at the plate and were still generating results. That's something I know Pete's talked about on this podcast. Drew's probably talked about on this podcast. Those guys that, it's not super, super ultra aggressive. It's very easy, very controlled, and they're still able to get results. Lincoln was one of those guys for me. It's a right-handed bat, but just a guy who, was hitting a ton of line drives during BP. So I really liked it.
And then I had like two more 27 arms that I wanted to touch on. One of them being Griffin Doberstein. He is a right-handed pitcher from Ottawa Marquette, and he has another one of those guys that had an upside frame. The velo wasn't really there, but I just like the way that he moved. Athletic kid, and he played shortstop in the state semifinal game for Ottawa Marquette last year, and I believe he played third base in the state championship is what he was telling me. But athletic kid and another guy, curious to see what he's like in game. Velo, he's only up to 81 with the fastball, but just the way he moves, it looks like someone that the velo can continue to come, especially only being a 27. And then another right-handed arm was Patrick Mayhew from Lincoln Way Central, 5'11", 180 pounds, kind of a stronger frame. Looks like the off-speed's kind of developing, but his fastball is up to 85. Thought the arm action worked really well. Pretty easy mover on the mound as well. Not a ton of effort. So really liked that. And then 126 that I wanted to mention was a left-handed pitcher. His name is Aiden Barrera. Smaller frame, kind of a baby-faced look too. But I thought he was just really interesting on the mound. The velo was not like super high, super crazy. It was a low 80s guy, but he threw strikes with 4 pitches, and he really felt like it looked like he was confident in throwing 2 breaking balls and a changeup. So good look there. I think he's definitely a guy that could pitch in college, and I'm excited to see kind of how he develops these next couple of years as a 26. But I didn't mention he goes to Sandburg. So that was a left-handed arm I wanted to mention. Def, looks like you have some hitting notes on him too that you want to get into.
Yeah, I like the left-handed swing as well. So definitely a guy who could maybe two-way at the next level. It was loose and easy with some feel to hit from the left side. Another guy who was just spraying line drives throughout his round of BP, but you talked about his quiet confidence on the mound. I saw that at the dish as well. So, Barrera was another guy I really liked offensively. Moving over to maybe the biggest winner on the day overall, Josh Omet. I hope I'm saying that right. From Carmel Catholic, a freshman, class of 2028, 5'9", 185. I'll start with what he did on the mound. I didn't see it personally. Our guy Andy Soroka did, and he shot us over some notes, but Said it was a super polished pen with a bunch of strikes. It's a 3-pitch mix, athletic delivery, strong kid who had some arm speed to pair with it. Fastball had rise run traits, sitting 81 to 84. He touched an 85. And his changeup was deceptive and played well off the fastball with heavy fade action. And his curveball was sharp and had depth. So that's what that's what he did on the mound. Offensively, probably my favorite bat of the day. Another guy, very easy operation, had a relaxed, hitterish look about him in the box. Seemed like it was just, yeah, man, I'm hitting like off front toss, not off a machine. Felt like he was creating backspin. It was one of the top event. He was in the top 5 for average bat speed from the event as well. So as a freshman, that's really impressive with the amount of kids that were just overall at that event. And he was flashing some quick hands as well. So, like I said, probably the biggest winner from the event. Big fan of Josh. I can just keep moving down. I got a bunch of hitters here. Next guy, utility right-handed pitcher Colton Francisco. I don't know if he was on anybody's mound here, but feel free to jump in after this. But Manuka kid, 2028, 5'9", 160. Another left-handed hitter with just a ton of feel to hit. Had a max EV of 90.5, was averaging 87.7. Continue to move down the list here. Got catcher Rocco Triolo, Lincoln Way East, 2027, 5'10", 175. Really liked the frame. Had a compact right-handed swing. Was looking to keep the ball on the line the entire round and was at times creating natural loft on the balls. Had a 92.9 max EV with an average of 89.4. And I see we got some defensive notes on him too, so I'll let whoever wants to touch on that.
Yeah, no, he's one to watch behind the plate. Just very athletic. Like kind of a dynamic mover coming out of the crouch. I didn't lock in on him during bullpens or anything like that, so I'm not sure the receiving capability, but just when we're doing the pop time workout, like ultra quick glove to hand, really flexible and really can move behind the plate. So it stood out, especially for a 2027, and Lincoln Way East certainly has a follow over there in Triolo.
And the next guy on this list is a familiar name with our staff, catcher infielder Luca Agni out of Plainfield North, 2027. I feel like he's been a staff favorite for us for a while, but it's not even just what he does showcase-wise. Like I feel like he's a gamer. If you go see him in the summer, we didn't see Plainfield North last spring. I don't know if he got any varsity time, but when we go out and he comes to rock tournaments and maybe a Rantoul tournament, but really like how he plays the game. But just what he did yesterday, feel like he continues to tick up with the bat. He's a switch hitter. Yesterday in particular, I just felt like the left-handed round was just a little bit more polished than the right-handed. I don't know, with 100% certainty what his natural side is, but man, left-handed wise, man, he was spraying line drives all over the field. Had some, controlled intent with his swing. But that's Luca Agni. Next, two Batavia guys that kind of came out of nowhere for me that I really liked. Starting things off with catcher Brandon Oki, right-handed hitter, had some controlled aggression about him. Another guy with line drives, had bat speed, very apparent strength in his frame. Looks like a guy who is probably already in the weight room as a sophomore. Relaxed, calm confidence in the box. He was elevating balls all parts of the field as well. 94 max EV, average 90.1, had 358 foot max distance, which is among the event leaders for that particular statistic. Next, from Batavia, who led the event in almost like every offensive category, was Ryan Rodriguez, an infielder, again from Batavia, 5'11", 180. Really liked the frame there as well. Another guy with just an easy operation, just let his strong hands do the work at the plate. Ball had some real jump off the barrel, evidenced by leading the event with a 368-foot max distance, a max EV of 100.3, an average exit velocity of 93.8, as well as a hard hit percentage of 83%. And then he was tied for the highest average hand speed at 23.7 miles an hour. So all around great day from Ryan Rodriguez there, BP wise, and then just, Batavia might be another team we're going to have to get out and see this spring for, potential future game follows.
Well, Tyler, I know you were locked in on hitters all day, saw a solid number of quality bats come through. One bat that I saw, Mason Maribel from Brother Rice, he just stood out to me. He was a 2028. Being that young, he had a long, loose levered frame, and then just the way his swing worked, really loose and easy and fluid. And I loved the plane, stayed on plane, and I just think he's gonna turn into if he continues to gain quality strength, like he's got a chance to turn into a guy that can leverage some baseballs out of the park. So he was certainly interesting from a projection follow standpoint. Mason Maribel from Brother Rice.
Yeah, and then just a few more guys for me to touch on hitter-wise. Go now to a 2026 outfielder, Peyton Globke from Lincoln Way West. Switch hitter, but man, it was a strong, intentful swing from both sides of the dish, and he was getting results with it as well. 91.9 max EV, had a 346 max distance. What I liked is I felt like both swings looked the same, which, for a switch hitter isn't always going to be the case, but, it seemed like everything mechanically was synced up from both sides of the dish. So I really liked Peyton Globke's round. And then just lastly, I just want to touch on a couple 2028s that I thought just had overall solid rounds of BP. Mikey Menza, left-handed hitter from Hinsdale Central, and then Bryce Wachunas, a right-handed hitter from Glenbard South. So just two 2028s to keep following moving forward.
Well, that kind of wraps up the McHenry preseason ID and Lockport preseason ID. Drew, do you have anything, or do you want to get...
Well, just we're sitting here doing it the day after Lockport. I know this won't roll until Wednesday, or at least that's the goal, but we're still cleaning up, the event and looking through everything. So these are just some major takeaways that Tyler had, that we had, on the mound, at the plate. And there's so many more guys that we'll probably mention in the takeaways story, and just, video spotlights coming down the pipes. So be patient with us, but definitely some standouts that warrant being mentioned here early on.
Yeah, well, we can kind of move on to prospect of the week. I can kick things off first if Daph maybe give you a little bit of a breather and Hammett to get ready again. But my uncommitted prospect of the week is left-handed pitcher Braden McKendrick. He is a 2026 from Brother Rice. And I've only seen him in game once. So if you guys have anything from the time of the Kickoff Classic last year to now that you've seen him, feel free to jump in here. But what I saw in that game, he was a mid-80s guy, was up to 87. Not at that game, I guess. He's been up to 87 since then, but he was a mid-80s guy when I saw him. And he can spin a breaking ball well and throws it for strikes. Kind of a bulldog-type mentality on the mound for me. He just seems like a guy that you can trust to get the ball and go win you a game. So I really liked what I saw from him. So if you guys have anything more on Braden, feel free to jump in here. But Braden McKendrick, uncommitted 26 from Brother Rice.
I'll hop right in here, Gav. My uncommitted prospect of the week is outfielder Patrick Connors from Hinsdale Central. Listen, we've long liked Connors. He has long been an athletic kid for us as well. At the state games, like, for example, he ran a 6.64 60. In the past, we've had him up to 86 from the outfield, 95 max EV as well. So he's not just a defensive guy with some speed. Like, he can hit too. Saw him a couple times this summer and really liked it. He was one of those guys who maybe just missed out on coming to the future games for us, but we're a big fan of Patrick. He's probably going to be plugged in right at the top of what could be an exciting Hinsdale Central lineup this spring. So there's Patrick Connors.
I can hop in here with Jason Phillips from Plano. He's 2026, uncommitted as far as I know. He's a two-way, like a real two-way that we've seen well on both sides of the ball. He's got big juice from the right side of the plate. kind of a corner infield profile, third base, first base profile, but he moves well, and he looks the part at both spots. But he's up to 99 miles an hour. We've seen him on the barrel in game and in showcase. So, and it's actually pretty loose and whippy too. Some pretty big bat speed. He can average in the mid 70s and get over 80 miles an hour with it. And on the mound, he's actually a smooth mover as well. Kind of got that lower, like 3/4 arm slot with some natural sink on the fastball, but he's up to 86, and it'll play in the mid 80s. And you can actually get quality spin on the slider over 2300 as well. So, not sure what I like him better as, but a real chance to do both at the next level.
All right. Well, my prospect of the week, I'm going to stick with those 2026s. I found an arm that I've been a fan of now for a while, Martin Canane, Lockport High School. He was a guy that showed really well last winter with an easy fastball that played in the upper 80s. And then he threw a really good breaking ball off of it in a bullpen. So he was a guy that we were kind of, tracking down. I went to try to watch him throw in the summer at one point for just in case he needed to be a future games guy. But he's 6'4", 170 pounds, and it's a long levered, high waist with so much more to come. He ends up coming to the Illinois State games, throws really well, showed a ton of intrigue in my opinion, up to 87. He currently needs to continue to polish up his repertoire as far as repeating and being consistent and landing the breaking ball for a strike. But that was last year. I haven't seen him since the winter to see what kind of trends he's been making. But he is one that I've been super high on the ceiling and what it could be down the road. So we'll see kind of what opportunity he gets this year with Lockport. I know they have some other really good arms with Trey Schaaf and Jack Sheik and those guys. But Martin Canane, I'm throwing him out there as he could be a breakout candidate for me, whether it's this year, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road. He's going to pop at some point, and that frame should only continue to get more impressive. And the way it works, like it's clean, it's easy, it's not, a head whack and overly aggressive delivery. So that is just a name that I'm a fan of.
Well, that wraps up episode 15 of the Bullpen. We have the Peoria preseason ID tonight, so keep an eye out for some of those, like some of the content coming out from that, some videos. And then this weekend we have the Chicago preseason ID, the Southern Illinois preseason ID. So keep an eye out. We've got a lot of stuff going on these next few weeks and then All-State coming up after that, and then the high school season, like crazy few weeks here. So appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment to our YouTube here, and we'll see you next week.